Okay, welcome everybody. So we'll begin with guided meditation. So just allow yourself to get comfortable. And just for a few minutes, we're going to invite all stories, all images to fall away. We're going to be with what is without any story. Allow yourself to just be. So just for a few minutes, put aside all ideas of past, all ideas of future. Any meaning you make of the world, any label. And just be. Allow yourself to experience what you are when the mind is quiet. And allow yourself to rest into the quiet, spacious stillness. And I invite you to notice the awareness that's still present when the mind is quiet. Notice that you can be aware, for instance, of the sound of my voice without a story about the sound of my voice. The mind had nothing to say about this sound. There's still awareness of it. So, as best you can, rest as the awareness that's present when the mind is quiet. Allow yourself to experience this moment without any story, without any meaning that you're making of it, without any restriction on what it is or isn't. Just allow yourself to experience this moment. And I invite you to rest into this moment, noticing that you're held by this moment. And into this spaciousness, let's begin to welcome thoughts of how we want to be, how we should be, the best way to be. Notice the pressure that we put on ourselves to be and do the right thing. Specifically, I invite you to try on the thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone. And invite to come to mind a specific moment in time or situation in your life where this was activated, this thought was alive. I need to do the right thing by everyone. And if a specific moment doesn't come up, sometimes what happens is we can see a pattern, sort of a category of types of situations, like when I'm with these people or when I'm in that kind of setting, this thought comes up. So just allow the mind to offer you either a specific moment in time or sort of a category of when this thought gets activated and believed. I need to do the right thing by everyone. Does anyone need more time in order to find your situation or the type of situation? Okay, cool. what we'll do now is do a go around and check in with our situation. And I invite us all to hear one another as offering the gift of our inner world with one another, which, our check-ins always are to some extent. And sometimes inquiry is also just like a little closer, a little more vulnerable. So let's experience these check-ins as a gift being offered from other self. And I'll go first. So for me, what comes up is, well, I had both a specific situation from maybe a couple months ago with my family of origin, and then also just interactions in general with my family in that pattern of I need to do the right thing by everyone. Like I see how I want to be the right way, do the right thing in order to achieve harmony in the family system. And I have an idea of what that means or that looks like. So that's what's up for me, is with my parents and my brother. Anybody want to go next to share where you see this in your life?
I'll go. I recently had and have a conflict with my stepdad where he thinks I did not do right by him. And so I kind of thought that might be a thing, but it doesn't really feel like it for me. The place where it feels alive for me is in around the teacher role that I'm cultivating. And I really want to, share real wisdom and like be helpful and not like lead anyone down a wrong path or whatever with what I'm sharing. Yeah, that's where it really comes alive.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody want to go next?
Yeah, I can share. I am experiencing a little bit of conflict with my daughter and her dad, and how it's manifesting is that the feeling, the essence that comes up, especially with this latest conflict, is that I spoke to something that was really important to me about how um how I felt like she didn't hold herself in integrity with me, and it came back to me through both of them as though I had done something wrong, and I think what I'm experiencing is really wanting to say the right things in just the right way so that I can create peace, and we can move past some of the just sort of these habitual conflicts that we keep coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I can go. So my situation's at work with coworkers and my boss, and just always wanting to please everyone. And I think it comes from a confrontation standpoint. Like, I don't want to have any negative feelings or have any sort of bad energy between two people. And I noticed that with my boss a lot. I'm always saying yes to things that I shouldn't say yes to. And I actually then got a memory of when my brother was like 6 and I was 4, and something happened where he had a couple friends around him, and I said something weird, and he basically kicked me out and said, like, you're too weird, like you're too weird to be around us. And so then I don't know, that stemmed into wanting to choose my words more carefully and to be more pleasing instead of just kind of being myself and say whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Um, so mine comes up for me in a few different time spaces, but I will go back more specifically just to when I was quite young, say under 10, and I'm still trying to connect quite with the never mind that. I felt like much of a fixer running around the family. There were often rifts between people, and I remember just very much carrying this responsibility for trying to mend these rifts. And I guess, of course, as I age, I realize that's not so much my responsibility, but I do still very much carry that essence in me. And so I find myself, particularly in situations with my family members, being extraordinarily just being perhaps over mindful of what I say and how I might say it. Not so much as whether I'm going to say the right or wrong thing, but maybe just a little too much attention still to that same energy.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, how's that?
Better.
Great. My situation is the complex of relationships when I take on a client for a construction project, and I want to. So when I'm relating to the client, I want to like deliver as much value as possible for as little money as possible. And then when I'm relating to the work and the people who are helping to bring the work into the world, I want, the work to be excellent and for them all to get paid well. And I'm kind of in the middle, and I put myself in this impossible situation where the sort of gap that exists, or the tension that exists between specifically the budget of delivering the work, kind of like lands on me and my body specifically. And I put myself in these, and it's a pattern. I do it over and over.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now what I want to invite us to do is be with that statement. I need to do the right thing by everyone. And I want you to find enough stillness within you that you can answer just a one-word answer to this yes or no question. And there's no right or wrong answer, whatever is true for you. So I need to do the right thing by everyone. I invite you to check and see, is it true? And again, find enough stillness within you so that you can settle on just yes or just no. I need to do the right thing by everyone. Just take a minute to find your answer and then we'll share. Whenever you're ready, feel free to popcorn out your answer. Is it true? I need to do the right thing by everyone. Yes.
No.
No.
Nope.
Yes.
Yes.
If you found a no, just be with that no. Just be with that. Okay, I can find that where it resonated, but then when I checked, it's not true. So just be with that now. And for those of us who found a yes, now let's look again. Can you absolutely know it's true that you need to do the right thing by everyone? Feel free to popcorn your answer.
No.
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 Nope.
So again, just be with that. There's this idea that I need to do the right thing by everyone. And then as we all check, we can't know it for sure. So now let's be with what we can know, which is the effects of believing it. So I invite you to go into your inner simulator, in your inner world. And what happens? What's the effect of believing I need to do the right thing by everyone? And begin with that situation. And then you can allow it to spread, if it does, to other areas of life. But begin there. How do you react to what happens when you believe I need to do the right thing by everyone? And whenever you're ready, feel free to call it out.
Tricky one with such a young memory for me, but I guess because I never actively thought I needed to do right by everyone, but at the same time, it just kind of in this family situation, I was made to feel like, well, no one else is doing it. So there was a burden, which I may have felt quite okay with in some sense, but nevertheless, it was still a burden, and it was, in other words, sorry, I've gone a little blank. Burdensome.
And then just
Sorry,
welcome
I may
that
have
burden.
actually forgotten. Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Do you want to say what you just said?
I may have forgotten exactly what your last question was.
Yeah. It's just the invitation to be with that thought and notice the effect. How do you react to what happens when you believe I need to do the right thing by everyone? And welcome, Nia. That's where we are in our meditation right now, is noticing the effect, the impact of believing I need to do the right thing by everyone.
My world becomes smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I got the imagery of myself kind of like multiplying and then going in a bunch of different directions. Like my energy, attention, when I feel like I need to please everyone, just gets taken away from me, and it's hard to find like which one is the original me.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a spilling out and forward, and a loss of power. And I kind of end up like in puddles on the ground out in front.
Yeah. And I invite us all to, as we notice what comes up, to just welcome it without becoming it. So we don't have to move into this pattern energetically. You can, but what you also can do is just watch it and welcome it. Watch it arise, make space for it. What I notice for myself is it's like I get caught on the in breath, like my breath comes in, and then it just hangs and sticks at the top of the in breath, holding my breath there. And there's a sensation of like floating and watching everything happen, and being on edge, wanting to anticipate, frozen.
And as I come in, tire squealing, skidding, stop, it means I'm not fully present in whatever it is I'm doing, including now. My apologies.
You're welcome, as is. So how do you react? What happens when you believe I need to do the right thing by everyone?
For me, I feel a paralysis, like a inability to, yeah, just a frozenness. And it feels like the words are caught in my throat. I can't get them out.
I feel squeezed between these two surfaces, like walls, and they kind of like crowd in, and it feels like there's no space for me and my needs. And yeah, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety, anxious feeling, and stress.
So now let's go for a moment to allowing yourself to be without the thought. In this same situation. So again, this isn't replacing the thought with another one. The only thing that changes is that thought isn't activated. So notice your presence. What is it like to be you in this situation without the thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone? And call it out when you're ready. Without the thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone.
Got the image of myself floating in a hot air balloon above just normal ground.
It's neat to notice you moved to a floating, and I was like in a floating, but it was floating frozen. And then without the thought, for me, what happens is my energy settles just on its own back into my system. And I feel really present and grounded and available.
Neil's made me smile a little bit. So whereas before in this younger space, the imagery in mind was that only the space around me was clear enough to see, and that was the space that encapsulated the issue that I was trying to attend to, and that the rest of the world was closed off to me. And then without the thought, it's kind of an odd one for me, but I went up into the stratosphere and kind of quite, similar to Neil was, it was just freedom, expansiveness, not so much freedom, but a freedom to be expansive, I guess.
Yeah.
I experienced a zooming out. Like I felt my posture, my body kind of come out a bit from the situation. And I also noticed I got really curious about what they are thinking and perceiving in the moment.
Yeah.
Without that thought, I feel much more centered, much more in myself, settled, powerful.
Without that thought, I immediately noticed that I can trust myself. And I sort of become aware that I wasn't trusting myself. So there's like discovery and insight there. And there's a lot more peace. Yeah, it's a lot more peaceful.
Can you say it one more time for me, BJ?
Yeah. Who would you be? What is your presence like? What is it like to be you? Without the thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone.
Maybe it's because I'm coming in late. And again, I'm sorry. Because that's me trying to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Trying to do the right thing for everybody.
Good
So
noticing.
my first thought is worry that I'm going to drop a ball somewhere.
Mm.
My second thought is, okay, if I didn't, and I am trying to be embodied, I feel embodied when I say this. I'm worried, I'm concerned. And then when I let go of it's, if I tell myself it's okay to not be there for everybody, then it turns into, well, that's selfish.
Mm. Yeah.
And I can't seem to get past that right now.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And I know there's a happy medium in there, but
Yeah.
that's
Thanks for bringing what's real. Yeah. So sometimes that happens, like we'll be in a limited belief, which is like looking at in the meditation of how do you react, what happens, we'll be in that. And then when we move to the next question and we take it off, sometimes we can experience the freedom there. But sometimes what can happen is the one on the top came off and another one rises up. And that's okay. That's just part of the meditation. So you can just welcome that. And also, you can, if you'd like to, you can try also being without what just arose, just to come back to the spaciousness. Well, you weren't with us in the opening meditation, but that's what we started with, was just the spaciousness of being without any meaning, any story. Because we experience, the limitation of focus when we try on a story, which isn't a problem. It's just part of, how we create, how we are the creator. It's like, okay, I want to look through this filter right now. I want to look through the filter of teacher or mom or whatever. And I want to look through it with, this particular flavor. And then when we notice that filter is also including like pain and suffering, we can get curious about that and then see if that filter is required. So that's part of what we're doing here, is checking to see, does this filter help? What can I see? What can I learn about this? So what let's try now is try on the story again. I need to do the right thing by everyone. And what I invite you to look at this time when you try it on, I need to do the right thing by everyone. See if you can look for, what is it that this story, this idea was trying to achieve? What is it that you wanted by trying this on in the first place? That's part A. And then part B is it working? Does it deliver? So what is it that you wanted by trying this on? I need to do the right thing by everyone. What's the outcome that you were trying to achieve or create? And then also check and see, is it working? Does it deliver? Does it help you achieve that goal? So just be with that for a minute. Now, whenever you're ready, feel free to popcorn.
We're answering 2 questions.
Basically, I was trying to achieve this, and yes, it's helping me, or no, it's not helping me.
Integrity and no.
Mm-hmm.
I see that there's a lot of things going on for me that I'm trying to get. On the one hand, like I want the job. So my pitch be attractive, and affordable. And I want the job because I want the money. I don't get paid. And I also want the job because I want to create. I want to have the opportunity. And then on both sides, it's kind of like Natalie's. I want to be in integrity. Like I want to feel good about how I'm showing up. I want to like be expressing my own values. And I get a mixed reaction to, is it working?
Yeah.
Because there's a variety there, but yes and no.
For me, what I wanted was peace, and no, absolutely not. Oh, sorry. I might just clarify that at that age, it wasn't personal peace. It was just peace.
Yeah.
Mine was pleasing everybody so that basically for friendship, to be liked, to be popular, and it's not working because I usually end up saying yes to those things I don't like, and in the end I become resentful basically over the whole situation.
Yeah. For me, I'm wanting to experience like coherence in the family and like a healthy system, a healthy flow of information, a healthy way of relating with one another. And I can find some, yes, like I can find some ways that putting myself through this, like the contraction of that way of being, has really helped me make that that goal, give me a really focused aim on that goal and learn a lot about like, okay, what if that is the most important thing and that is the thing I want to achieve? And I think I've learned a lot there, but ultimately no, it didn't help in the moment. And I find what's helping more in my more mature moments of life is actually undoing that story. Like I had to sort of like build up pressure and learn about it, but then like, oh, actually through building the pressure, then now I can release the pressure and focus the energy in a different way. So yeah, it's also like a yes and no. It's like, yeah, it helped me do something, but it's not helping anymore or something. And yeah, so less interested than I used to be. Anybody else want to chime in on this one? Or we can move on.
What I was noticing, and it sort of surprised me, was that I was trying to achieve the outcome of being seen a certain way. I was trying to achieve, I think, was maybe controlling their perception of the situation. I was trying to achieve, getting everybody to see things the way that I saw them. Is it working? No, it's not. Which is okay.
And just out of curiosity, if you're willing to share, what do you imagine you could achieve if everyone saw it the way you wanted them to?
I imagine I would achieve harmony and peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that working?
No.
Neither one's working. Yeah. So just a comment about all of this. I think we try on these different forms because there is something that we're wanting. And if we look at the kind of the universal principles that we study together, like it's our freedom, it's part of our free will to try on these limitations. And to seem as though we're not just the one thing, like, oh, I have this shape and this size and this focus and this aim. And through believing thoughts, that's one particular way that I find we do that. That's part of the function of the veil, is believing that what I believe is true. And we do that because we want something, which I'm playing with, at least, that's the second distortion. So the first distortion through Ra's teaching is free will. The second distortion is love, which I also interpret to be, and this could be incorrect, but I interpret that to be, what am I interested in? What's important to me? What do I want? What am I desiring? That's another way for me of expressing, what do I love? And so coming to see, okay, I use my freedom to take on this thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone because I'm interested in peace or harmony or opportunity or integrity. I want friendship. Then we can see, is it creating what I was wanting? And then we can learn. So that for me is also walking us through the archetypes of mind, getting to experience the catalyst. So the catalyst I take to be like, okay, what is it like? How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? Experiencing the movement of energy when my sense of self is limited in this way. I take that to be catalyst. And then as we experience, we step back and we look at it, which one of the ways we can do that is going into it, stepping out of it, going into it, stepping out of it, and allowing ourselves to look at it. That opens up the experience. So just to kind of weave that in with some of what we all study together. So yeah, so what let's look at now is one more time without the thought. So as best you can, without going to the future of what you imagine will happen without the thought, just right now, in this moment, what is your presence like? What is it like to be you? Without this thought, I need to do the right thing by everyone.
It's really
Call
nice.
it out when you're ready. Yeah. Go ahead.
I can just reside in myself and just be in my own shape. It's nice. Feels good.
I feel really calm and centered in my heart.
Peaceful, which, as it happens, is what I was going for with the thought.
Yeah.
Say weightless. I don't know. I felt very just light. Like I didn't have a dense physical body. Just kind of, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
I felt really connected to my heart.
Similar to how William discovered, oh, I've got what I was hoping for. I invite you all to check and see whatever it was that you were hoping to achieve. Is that available? Does it feel available without this thought? You're shaking your head, Nia. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Yeah.
I'm stuck with it.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Feels like an identity piece or pre-cognitive path coming in, maybe
Mm-hmm.
motherhood. I mean, sacred duty. I can't be without it. It's not a thing. I can't get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And what can happen if you really want to take on, if this practice is interesting to you, like you can work with what arises to like I said, you can take one off the top and then another one comes up. Then you can bring that one to inquiry. It can just begin to show you, okay, this is another limitation of self that I can look at and question. And I think this work can be used to attempt to remove our limitations. And I find that we don't need to remove any limitations because they were never really on us anyway. So I think it's helpful to not like apply that aim, because there's nothing that needs to be removed. It's your freedom to take a shape, take a form, and when we do, there's a reason there's a reason it's working for us. And you can just bring it to inquiry to shine a light on it, to look at it, learn more about it, learn more about what happens when you have this sacred duty and you take on this sacred duty and what that means to you. So it can be this sort of branching path of like, oh, here's another one that arises in my meditation, and let's look at that one, and here's another one, and then let's look at that one.
I love it. I'm so appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody notice something about whatever it was you were wanting from the thought? Now, without the thought, how do you relate to? Is it available? That essence, that quality of being that you were wanting, that experience?
So I came to the realization of, I guess, I wasn't necessarily after friendship and being liked, but it was more of a fear of being unliked and alone. And when I am about that thought of having to please everybody, it's kind of like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you don't like what I did. I'm gonna do what's best for me and love myself. And if that doesn't work for that one person, then it's kind of a like weight lifted off. I don't freedom from what others are thinking of me.
Yeah.
I think I have a similar thing going on to Neil, where it's like I want to be perceived as having integrity in the teacher role. And when I'm actually like fully in myself and in my heart, then I'm in integrity with myself. And some people are going to like it and some people won't care, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So what this brings up for me to share is like what this practice has done for me is like helped me know how to trust myself, not the self that I want to be or the self that I think I could be if I apply filters. And we can apply filters to ourselves like rules, you know? And so, like, I need to do the right thing by everyone would be like living by a rule. And when we consistently live by rules and don't experience our presence, just our being, our beingness, then it can be hard to trust ourselves. You know, it can be like, oh no, I need that rule. I need to hold it in place because otherwise I won't do the right thing by everyone. And that will be bad because fundamentally there's something wrong with me. Or, you know, we all have like some subtle like mistrust of the energy that moves through us naturally. So that's something that I find can be really powerful about this. Practice is coming to see what I am without a filter. And we can find that it's good and it is trustworthy. And that's such a powerful foundation to move from in the world. Trusting what I am when I don't have to live by rules in order to make myself good.
Can I share my insight?
Yeah.
Yeah, it relates to what you just said, BJ. It's like there's this surprise of seeing how I'm like looking through, as I look at my situation, I'm looking through this mask that I built up over my life of like my own self image. And I'm still seeing through all these, like when I was younger, I did all these distorted things. Like I would lie, I would manipulate, you know, before I knew how to show up as myself. Like I did all these things that I, you know, that don't feel like they were in my integrity. But they were a long time ago, but I still see myself that way. You know, I still treat myself in this dynamic, in these relationships, as though I'm somebody who needs to be watched or something. Like I don't trust myself. It's just what you were saying, BJ. Like I just see all the ways that I still kind of see through this mask of distrust. But then without the thought, I'm able to see who I like, how I'm showing up actually. And it's comical. It's like the way I judge myself versus how I'm actually showing up is so, the gap is massive and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's super common. Like just in the past 2 days, like 2 clients that I had in this work, the same thing. Like when we have a big heart and beautiful intentions, that often seems to come with, now I need to clamp down on myself because I need to do something right with that big heart and good intentions, which leads to living from significant limitation rather than from our freedom and actually trusting the heart that we have and the good intentions that we have. So you're not alone. And I also want to share an experience that I'm having. This happens like maybe a couple times a year, once a year or something. Like there's just a lot of energy moving through me and my spine keeps shivering. So that's interesting. Just want to reveal, like I keep like shaking.
Is now an okay time to make a comment? Okay,
Yeah, please.
so the spine shivers in once or twice a year for me is, I did check-ins in our other classes where this time of year, the creation energy, the fertility energy, the like potential energy of the seed just absolutely tightening before the explosion of spring energy and Beltane and all those things is a very real thing that I deal with every single year for the last few years.
Wow.
So you're not alone with that. And this reminds me of, which it's cerebral and visceral, that we have a primal human aspect to us that is, it's a driver behind all of this that feels like primal human fear of being ostracized from Neanderthals in the cave. And we needed our pack, we needed our tribe, our community. And if we weren't contributing, if we weren't doing, if we weren't seen in a certain way, if we weren't ticking off many of these boxes, then we would have been ostracized, which means to turn your back unto death. And so we are consistently, just a second, baby.
The tenders are done.
I know, baby, I'll be right there. And so, and so if we weren't following through with all these perceived needs, we had an energetic disconnect at our various chakra points, our energy centers, and that usually is survival with our root chakra, our second chakra, and so forth. And so we are still driven, like we have our higher selves, our soul complex that wants to be free of these boundaries, but at the same time, in third density, we are dealing with and we are living with these beliefs and limitations and factors that, I believe that we're in this bridge right now between third density and fourth density of surpassing that or breaking free of that we've never been able to do before.
Yeah.
And in this particular inquiry, what that keeps coming every time I dig a little bit and I check in a little bit, that seems to be the underlying driver that keeps coming forward. It's like I can play with the thought of not having that, but then that doesn't feel like third density living anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Old ways can fall away when they're seen and when we're ready for them to fall away. We no longer need them. So now let's be with the possibility that we don't need to do the right thing by everyone. So just try that on and see if it fits. And beginning in that situation that you started with, could that be true? And just let in what insights it might show you that perhaps you couldn't see before with the filter. Because when we believe one particular way, it acts as a filter, and the mind will prove that it's true. So when we look through the filter of I need to do the right thing by everyone, that's what we're going to see. We're going to get proof of it. So open up to the possibility that you don't need to do the right thing by everyone, and allow new information in that may not have been seen before. Could it be true that you don't need to do the right thing by everyone? And if you find that that's true, feel free to share some examples of how that's true.
my perceived mistakes become someone else's catalyst.
Yeah.
So in actuality, it was meant to be anyway.
Yeah, I find that too. And I also find that that shorthand of shifting from control to acceptance. I'm more in my heart, and I don't need to do the right thing by everyone. I'm trusting that everyone else, like I'm not their source. I don't need to provide the goodness, the rightness to them. I'm trusting that they're connected to it too. Yeah, and I'm much more just in that coherence that I was wanting, in the healthy system that I was wanting, when I don't need to do that. I trust them. I trust me. I trust. I just trust. Just trust. Anybody want to share what you notice when you try on I don't need to do the right thing by everyone? How might that be true? Or what do you see?
What I noticed when I tried on that, I noticed that it pointed me back to the original thought, I need to do right by everyone, but I noticed that I was excluding me from the everyone.
Yeah.
When I don't need to do right by everyone, suddenly I'm reoriented back to, was I doing right by me? And so my heart just took me to a completely different path than I hadn't even seen before.
Hmm. Yeah, good noticing.
Very similar kind of sentiment. I noticed that when I don't have the thought, I'm able to sit more easily into the trust that everyone is essentially moving towards doing the right thing in this all-encompassing way. And then when I am sitting in that trust, I am paying entire attention to, am I doing the right thing by myself?
Yeah. Now let's just open it up to general general insights, takeaways from the meditation as a whole, which can still include answers to this question. What do you notice from I don't need to do the right thing by everyone? It'll also include general insights, takeaways.
I feel like I don't need to do right by everyone is the right answer. I feel like Neil personality doesn't know what's right for that person. So when I feel like I'm doing something right, take a step back, examine that in the moment, and then go forward. Because if I think that I'm supposed to stay late and do XYZ at work because somebody didn't show up, then there could be some domino effect somewhere that would have been avoided if I made a different decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know if what decision is right. So get to the trusting of a higher consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. And what that brings up for me, like I resonate with that. And what that brings up for me is like when I'm in that way of thinking that I do need to do the right thing by everyone, how like egotistical that is, that like I know the right thing and I'm going to do it. And I'm so important. Everything in this situation needs me to act in this way so that the outcome, it's like very, wow. Like it seems as though it's, oh, it's so proper or something, but it's actually like real bossy and real egotistical. That's what I find in myself.
Not sure how helpful. Never mind. I've been finding for some time now that if I begin a thought or a sentence with "I need" or "I should," irrespective of what follows after that, I should stop. I should instead again. I might do well to halt myself and take notice.
Think just in that moment, am I trying to do something to please this person so that they like me? And just noticing how wrong that is, or noticing that is my choice supposed to just influence them to make me feel better. It's like it plays back into like how egotistical is my decision right now.
So what I want to invite us to look at now is the innocence of that belief, in terms of what it is that we wanted to get out of it. Where it was coming from. And then we can notice, how that didn't play out, or, maybe in some cases it did. But specifically, what I want to look at is the innocence of needing to do the right thing by everyone. The beauty of the intention behind it, the goodness behind it. And for me, that's so much of the energy of forgiveness. And for me, the forgiveness, when I'm able to see the goodness, the innocence behind something, it's like forgiveness doesn't need to be done. It's not a doing. It just, like whatever it was that I was holding on to, releases itself, because it just is seen through. And I'm curious if anyone else has a similar experience or would like to apply some thoughts about forgiveness related to this inquiry. What do you notice about forgiveness as it applies to this experience?
So it immediately sprang up, well, somebody has to do it. And so I take it upon myself. But if I let go of that and leave the responsibility in other people's hands, there's forgiveness for them not taking up the slack and not doing what I perceive is their part.
Yeah.
And then that's forgiveness of them. And that's forgiveness of myself if I were to let go of the perceived responsibility. So that lands as forgiveness all around and just being what we are whenever we are in that moment.
Yeah. I also go back to Aaron, what you were sharing about like looking at this past presentation of self and then creating these constrictions on self in order to achieve a certain outcome, and then looking like, oh, I actually, those restrictions on self didn't create what I wanted, and it turns out I didn't need them. Like, to me, that really feels like forgiveness, just through an insight, like the forgiveness kind of does itself. That's a filter that I'm applying to what you shared. Like, oh, I'm actually not what I thought I was. I don't need to be limited and restrained by rules in this way. Any other insights, takeaways, anything that wants to be heard about your experience? I look forward to hearing about your idea of a part two, Nia. Tell me more about that later. Does it feel complete? It's done when it's done. Thank you, loves.
Thank you so much, BJ, and everyone for your
Mm.
vulnerability shares and our collective. Y'all are amazing.
Yeah. Thank you all for being transparent, letting us see the shared mind. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.